Well, hello folks. After a long wait, we now have the honor of checking out Campaign Series Vietnam. Those of you that have watched my campaign series in the past have probably seen me play Campaign Series Middle East, but this one right here is just unbelievable. It really takes the cake. I want to go ahead and introduce you guys to just the great parts of this game. So number one, in Campaign Series Vietnam, you are going to be able to play all the way from the initial start of the French invasion of Vietnam to the Americans leaving in 1972. Really everything in between, including a tremendous amount of ARVN missions. Now that's something that I think a lot of other Vietnam games really ignore, but there was a period there, about 62 to 64, or I should say 55 to 62, where ARVN really did quite a lot. The Republic of South Vietnam really did quite a lot. As you can see here, we've got the Forest of Assassins, and after a gunfight in Saigon, the Binh Xuyen had fled to the Ruong Sat Swamp southeast of the city, while government forces were occupied in the Mekong Delta. Just absolutely fascinating stuff, and really gives you, I guess, a better understanding of the entire conflict. Now, we are going to take a look at some of these battles today, just to give you guys a visual of kind of what to expect, but I just want to, once again, reiterate the amount of battles here, the amount of different things you could play is unbelievable. In fact, we'll go ahead and you can see now we're getting to the American battles. There is just a bunch here, including, look at that, the South Korean battles. And those of you that have seen my father's videos on his time served in Vietnam will know what incredible allies the South Koreans were. So this is just an example of the many different things you can do in this game. Now we're here taking a look at the actual South Korean battle, which is quite fascinating, and pretty much the South Koreans are headed out to go and hunt for some Viet Cong. But this gives you an idea of just how you can customize the battle however you want. Now, of course, if you want to do a hot seat game with a friend, you simply select manual. Although typically the best way to approach this, I should say, is to go ahead and select manual for your side and computer with fog of war for the enemy side. Of course, if you don't want fog of war, you could just simply select computer here. And of course, you will just get a computer and you'll be able to see the entire map and everything going on. Over here, you've also got an advantage marker, and I think you should really play around with this however you wish. But keep in mind that, obviously, depending on the forces you're using, you might be somewhat better equipped than the Viet Cong or the NBA. So that's something to keep in mind when you are customizing your battles. In this case, we're just going to keep it at 50-50, right down the middle. Each person, no benefits to either side. They're just going to be fighting with what they've got. Now, over here, we've also got a rules section, and this allows you to go ahead and select different rules. So you can have enhanced fog of war, enhanced spotting, etc. You could even get rid of some of these rules and just really build the scenario however you would like it to be built. So let's jump right in, and I'm sure that a lot of these buttons down here are quite intimidating to you, but believe you me, I'm somebody that would never touch Command Modern Air Naval Operations because I consider it too complicated. I can absolutely play this game and have a good time doing it. So let's say okay, and let's jump right into this battle. Now, the battle introductions are really nice. They give you a tremendous amount of, information about the particular situation we're in, and this game does not shy away from small conflicts, perhaps conflicts that were never even really discussed, at least not in American media, but certainly conflicts that were important in the grand scheme of things. In this case, the search and destroy Operation Dragon Eye, and this is something that my father would tell me about, and essentially, well, not this particular operation, but the sort of operations you would have under South Korean troops, which would essentially be South Korean troops headed out to search for VC locations to burn them out. And let me tell you, the VC were absolutely terrified of the South Koreans. As you can see now, we've got the game started, and this is something else I really love. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but as you can see, you've got some gunfire in the background. You've got the sounds of the jungle. You've got the sounds of different artillery and air explosions. And of course, you have the ability, in some battles, not all, to call in air support, artillery support, evac, medevacs, whatever you need. So let's jump right in without further ado and take a look at what we're playing with. Now, this map, it's deceptively small, because if we back out, well, look at that, my friends. I mean, this is an absolutely massive massive map. And this is just a single battle in the entire game. So it really just goes to show you the level of detail that these guys have decided to go with. Now, we're over here, I believe, in the Low-Dol area, but if we look up in Hanai, Lamlok, all these areas, Phublok, they have NVA flags over them. In this case, we're going to assume probably not North Vietnamese army. It's probably going to be Viet Cong forces, because we are currently in South Vietnam. But let's take a look here, guys. So we're looking at our South Korean units on the right side. I want you guys to keep your eyes there. We've got Marine platoons, and this Marine platoon has a radio. What do you think that means? Well, what that means is that if we do have air support, he's going to be able to call that air support in. So I'm just going to go up here, and we are going to stick to standard movement. I'm going to want to do a separate video just on how to move in this game appropriately, the best way to make that happen. In this case, we are going to move these guys together. So, really quickly, and I will make a separate video if you guys want me to, on the buttons in this game, but you want to look over here at this button. This is the move button. If you're just moving, don't press anything. You simply right-click, and look at that. Our boys are going to head into a wooded area. I think this is probably the safest area to be in this immediate part of the actual battlefield. I also think that this is a great location to be in just on the overall map. And we can just back out, as you can see once again, and see exactly where we are on the grand scheme of things. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of territory to cover should we choose to do so. But right now, I'm just going to get my guys into a nice wooded area. And again, the reason I am doing this is because this game absolutely takes, cover into account, etc. So if you guys want to look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can actually see a really large amount of detail here for each of these different locations. So if we click here on the rice paddies, we can see the amount of morale, visibility, the air power, the elevation on the ground, and even something as complicated as wreck. So for instance, if we've had a vehicle wreck over there, that's also going to show up over here on the flooded paddy tile and could potentially even add to a concealment bonus. Another thing to keep in mind, those little red indicators underneath our units essentially let us know how many action points the unit has left. And if we back out here, for those of you that enjoy NATO counters, not exactly NATO counters, but pretty close, you can of course do this and just go ahead and take a look at the map this way. I do believe this makes things somewhat easier for somebody playing the game, but I have to say I really, really love just the ability to see these guys, in their glory, and of course just take a look at them on the ground as they would look in a real battle. So we're going to take a look here. We've got these Marine platoons. I don't want to mess with them anymore. What I am going to do is take this Marine platoon, once again getting into the woods here, and my goal is going to be to get into the Hanai area. As you can see, the Hanai area is already controlled by the NVA. That is an NVA flag, although, maybe with time we'll discover VC troops. So our goal is to get over there. Now, I could, of course, go ahead and just zoom out, but what I'm going to do is just use these different sliders, since this is kind of the part of the battlefield we're focused on now. And I'm just going to try to move our men forward. We've also got a mortar here. You better bet we're going to be using that to take enemies out. I'm going to put the mortar right here. I'm also going to bring these trucks. And if you guys take a look at those trucks once again, if you look at the upper right-hand corner and then the lower right-hand corner of these trucks, you can see that they have troops inside. So at some point, we're going to want to dismount those troops. We're going to try to keep these trucks in a location where they're not easily going to be shot to bits. Let's put it that way. So let's go ahead. We're going to click this load or unload button, and sure enough, let's have a look there. We've got a recoilless rifle, 106 millimeters. That is a gun I would not want used against me. And we also have a group here of Marine platoons. These are, of course, South Korean Marines. But depending on the flag in the upper right-hand corner, we could eventually have some Americans coming to support us. So at this point, we are going to move forward, but of course, we are just looking at a very tiny portion of the map. And if we take a look over here, let's actually get down to that area. We have an entire fire base right there, the Rock MC fire base, we're hopefully not going to need to use it too much during this fight. But over here at the Rock MC Firebase, we've got everything, guys, from battalion HQs to 105mm howitzers. I have no doubt we're going to need to bring those in eventually to support our guys on the ground. All right, well, without further ado, I want to go ahead and just end the turn here and turn it over to the VC. Let's see what they do. We do still have a few movement points, and if we wanted to, we could probably move farther, but I don't think I'm going to take that risk. Now, of course, since we have the Fog of War on, we're not going to be actually seeing the units move in here until we actually can spot them ourselves. I think this is just the, the more fair way to go about this particular battle. You don't need to do it. It's completely up to you. So once again, it's our turn, and what I'm going to do is simply move these guys forward. And what I'll do is I wanted to just take this fella. There we go. So we're just sending the Marine platoon in. And interesting, Hanai doesn't have any defenders there. That's good news for us. Of course, they could be setting us up for an ambush. I'm going to go ahead and move the rest of these men forward, and hopefully we'll have some contact soon. Of course, this is the point of this particular mission, is to try and draw VC fire if it comes to that. For now, though, we're just going to push our men forward, make sure that most of them are over here in this wooded area, and we'll go from there. I wanted to get that truck out of the way, but now he's kind of part of this group. Yeah, he's not going to be able to move back. What we could try to do is dismount that unit, but I don't believe that he's going to be able to dismount the unit this turn. We have to wait until next turn to make that happen. Also move the mortar forward. Just making sure we don't have any other additional support there. And we're going to head south through the cemetery to Tolak. So let's go ahead and the turn. Again, nothing new to report this turn. Now, of course, if we had some enemy contacts, that would immediately show up. It would be fairly obvious to us that there were enemy contacts here. Move south. Move south. And once again, the Tholok area seems pretty clear. But this is kind of, the sort of contacts you're going to have in this game. In some battles, it really depends what kind of battle you're facing. Let's jump into another one where maybe we'll get some action, a little bit sooner. But more importantly, I want to jump into another one where you guys get just an impression of how many different, groups you could play as in this game. You could play as South Korea, as the French, as the Americans. It's completely up to you. Now, as you can see, in this scenario, we are actually playing the Battle of Mauquet as the French. And the interesting thing about this scenario is that the political aspect is a big part of it. This isn't the case in every battle you're going to fight, but basically we lose event points for indirect firing or ordering airstrikes on inhabited hexes. So if we order an airstrike on a village, even if we suspect there to be, for instance, VC there, we're going to lose some event points. We're going to lose some respect with the people. So that's just something to keep in mind. But in this particular battle, it really is more of a defensive one. We're trying to hold the Catholic Church, but just look at the different units we have here. M8ACs, we've got heavy machine guns, 57mm recoilless rifles, and a bevy of French troops. And look at this, the level of detail. We've got Senegalese infantry. That's right. Now keep in mind, France still had many of their colonies during this time, and certainly many colonial holdings that were still loyal to France. So you've got the Senegalese troops represented, which I have to say, I don't think has been represented in any Vietnam game. Occasionally you get a Vietnam game that will mention the Montagnards, but that's about as far as they'll go. So I just find that to be incredibly interesting. As you can see here, once again, a very defensive battle. We could head out and sort of take a little tour of the area, but I don't think that's necessarily very safe. Let's stay put right here and await enemy contacts. So we'll go ahead, we'll end the turn. You guys have seen that pop up. You can always just go ahead and do this, or, you know, name it whatever you want, and you won't have to, you know, once again, rename it every single time. But I can actually hear the VC moving through the woods. We do have some minefields around us, so I'm hoping that that's going to keep us safe, but maybe not. And there we go, my friends. The enemy has begun to attack. All we know is that these are irregular units that have just popped out of the jungle, opened fire on some of our troops, and fallen back into the jungle. Now, how you deal with these situations is entirely up to you. If you want to, you could go ahead and potentially even give chase to those units inside the jungle. In fact, let's try to do that. Let's take these local irregulars, and let's move them over here. We are, oh baby, walking right into an ambush. As you can see, local irregulars firing at us from over here. We can't attack this unit because it has been disrupted. And if you see that D in the upper right-hand corner, that lets us know that that unit is not moving anywhere this turn. He has been disrupted. He is a little bit terrified. I can't say I blame him. So I'm going to try to send some additional irregulars up there to assist, although obviously that could take some time. And these situations will play out little by little. In fact, I'm even going to send some MAAC support up to the mine area. And hopefully we can use this guy to take out some of the enemies present in this area. Oh boy, we've got artillery fire coming into Mount K. Damn! That's some serious stuff. We can see the damage results in the lower left-hand corner. Not all of that artillery has hit us. In fact, I think most of our guys are safe from that artillery fire. And there we go, guys. It's now over, and look at that. We've got some enemy units moving in. Now, we are going to have some reactionary fire. And the goal here is to do everything we can to annihilate those units. Look at that. Additional units moving in from the north as well, and I hope our French can hold on, man. This is going to get pretty dangerous. The unknown effects just let us know that because of the visibility, we don't actually know if we got any hits. That's not always going to be the case, but sometimes it will be. And you'll just have to essentially chance it and commit however many men you think is going to be necessary. In this case, I'm going to try to have all of our men fall back to the mine and try and do some damage here to these advancing VC units. Look at that, guys. We are completely surrounded by Viet Cong. Now, the only complaint I have so far is that those Viet Cong units, and they are Viet Cong irregulars for sure, they've got NVA flags. That's neither here nor there, but something to keep in mind. And look at that, guys. That is an assault. Our engineers were overrun. Our local irregulars were eliminated down to a man. Just goes to show you the absolute terror that can sometimes occur. Now let's take some shots at the enemy. And the way we do that is you go over here to your movement key, and you simply click that, and now you're in firing mode. So, obviously, the biggest threat to me is going to be that machine gun. I want to try and target it as best I can. Let's go ahead. Okay, unknown effect once again. We just don't know, but we are going to keep that fire going, trying to wipe out the enemy MG. I'm going to do the same over here with this machine gun, but I'm actually going to focus on that unit. And the reason being, we've already gotten quite a few hits on that unit, so I'm hoping that with consistent fire, we can actually force him to fall back, or at the very least, disrupt him. Well, there we are. We are out of firing points with that group, but there would be no reason to keep these irregulars out here. We're going to fall back to the mine, and this is going to be our defensive position should we choose to continue with this battle. Certainly seems to me to be a pretty formidable defensive position, but with that many enemies around us, it could get pretty challenging, to say the least. Now, many have asked me, does this game feature large battles? Well, you tell me. Right here we're playing the second phase of the battle, the famous battle of Dien Bien Phu. Not to mention that if you so choose, you can go ahead and play as the NVA, you can play as the VC. Look at this massive, massive, massive wave of men. And of course, every single part, guys, of the map of Dien Bien Phu, from Gabriel all the way to Francois, all these different locations, Epavière, Dominique, you can overrun them, or if you so choose, you can try to defend them. I just thought I would give you guys a visual of how deep you can get in this game, how many large battles you can have, and we haven't even shown the air support or artillery support that you can get in the game. Although that's a somewhat more complex part of this, and I really do believe that this game does need a good visual tutorial. Again, if you guys want me to make that, I would absolutely be honored. I'm not going to give you the best tutorial in the world, but I could certainly get you playing and understanding the game fairly well. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Really, my goal here was just to give you guys a visual of Campaign Series Vietnam, and I would absolutely recommend this game, especially to Vietnam buffs, especially to turn-based strategy buffs. The aesthetics, they're not going to appeal to everybody. Some people are going to find this to be pretty old-school stuff, but especially for you grognards, you fans of military strategy, this game is unbelievable, and in my opinion, the most in-depth representation of the Vietnam War from all sides, the War of Indochina, etc., that you're going to find. Thank you so much for watching this, guys. If you enjoyed it, you know what you have to do, and I hope to catch you in the next one. I've been doing a lot fewer videos on the channel because, frankly, it's just not paying off. So if you want more regular videos, please consider joining us for as low as $3 a month. It goes such a long way. And a very special thanks to our existing channel Centurions, aka those of you that have purchased a membership. It really helps me out. Thank you guys, take care, and good luck on the battlefield.